Hi everyone, it is Kendall here and welcome to Saturday morning and the third week of our Brackman Sampler Sew Along. If this is your first video, welcome. And what we're doing here is randomly selecting blocks from the Barbara Brackman book titled The Encyclopaedia of Pieced Quilt Blocks, and we are taking everything from one specific chapter, being the even 9 patch. So if you haven't done so already, grab a beverage, grab a friend, come with me, and I'll show you how I do it. Spinning the wheel for week 3. What will week 3 block be? "1749. Brackman ID 1749 tells us that this block was named Mississippi and it appeared in a publication called Hearth and Home. Now, this was a periodical that was published by Vickery and Hill Company of Augusta in Maine from 1885 into the 1930s. They offered their first mail order patterns in the April of 1895, and a lady by the name of Wileen Smith has evidence that several Vickery and Hill publications printed similar drawings and patterns, so the accuracy in sources is problematic. Anyway, this is how we have our block for this week, and I have actually changed it up and given another option with the background and the feature fabric switched. Throughout this video though, I will be making it as per the original. So without much further ado, let's get into the block construction. As I stated just before, I'll be making the original version of this block for the tutorial, but if you need to make other options, you just need to change around those color placements and fabric cutting requirements as per the little indication there on the top left. To make this block, we're going to start with 4 of our print squares from the 8 that we had, and we need to put a sew and flip on 2 corners which are opposite each other on all 4 of these blocks. I am working with a directional fabric, so I need to take care of where I'm placing those sew and flips, so you will see me split this into 2 piles of 2. This way I can control which direction my fabric goes once I've placed the sew and flip on them. So we're going to take our small square, and as always with sew and flips, you can do these in any way you like, and in the previous video I went through quite a few different ways to do these, but as always I am going to be using my folded corner clipper tool. So we'll take our smaller square of background and line that up in the corner, making sure all of our edges are even. We'll then place the 2.5 inch measurement from our folded corner clipper tool on our smaller square, making sure that all of our edges are lining up on the lines as indicated on the tool before slicing off the excess fabric. And I'm going to pin that for now because I'll do the other side while I'm here, and we make sure that we are doing the opposite corner diagonally opposed. And we're going to do the exact same thing, our sew and flip on that side as well. But you will see sometimes I don't line that folded corner clipper tool up as instructed or as its intended purpose. But what I do is I find another line on the tool and I just make sure that that 1/4 inch diagonal is going from corner to corner on the block. And it's just an easier way for me to just place it down and go and not have to worry about lining it up exactly. I am going to get all of these ready, and you will see when I move to the remaining 2 that I do actually place my directional fabric going horizontally so that I can get it on the opposite corners and everything will work out when I lay this block out. Once we've got all our sew and flips ready in whatever method we're going to use, we'll take all of those to the sewing machine and stitch our 1/4 inch. We'll then press everything out towards those sew and flip corners, and then we'll be ready to move on to the next steps. that completes our unit construction for this block. So how easy is that? Just 4 squares with sew and flips on opposing corners. Now we need to lay this out, and this is once again where my directional fabric comes into play. So we've got our solid C squares still left over, and as you can see, I'm placing that horizontally. And then my ones with the sew and flips, because I wanted them vertically, you can see these two, I needed the sew and flips on different corners to maintain that. And they're the ones that I cut on the horizontal when I was doing the sew and flips. But now that we have this laid out as per every block for this quilt along, because we're doing even 9 patches, we now just need to create our 9 patch. And we're going to do that by starting with all of our vertical seams, and then our horizontal seams. You will see throughout this that I finger press, but I'll meet you back after that's done to explain. So you would have seen there while I was doing these vertical rows that in all instances I pressed to those solid squares. So on the top and bottom row that was out towards the corner, and for the middle row I'm pressing in towards that solid square in the middle. If we press in these directions, when we come to do our horizontal seams now, you will notice that every single intersection will nest nicely, but I'll just pin that to secure it, and then making sure that everything is still lining up. And don't be afraid to use pins. Don't think it makes you a baby or a beginner. Pins are your friend to hold your blocks and make sure that you maintain your accuracy. So anyone that says otherwise, don't listen to them. Now that we have got that first horizontal seam done, I am just going to press that up towards that top row. Then I'll attach our bottom row and press down towards that one. And this variation of the block is complete. So there we have it, the Mississippi block as per the original and pictured in the Barbara Brackman Encyclopaedia of Pieced Quilt Blocks. What I did do, however, was make a variation where I switched those fabrics around, and this may come in handy for anyone using a dark background. It will just depend, but I also like this version. So either version will go in my quilt. I haven't decided yet. But let's have a look at how we would do this with the Marty Michelle templates. For the Marty Michelle templates, we'd need number 8, 10, and 13. Now, while we're not making a complete square in a square, you'll see in a moment how number 10 comes in handy for me when cutting out those the feature fabric blocks, because I am making the original version in this grey as well. And then 13, of course, will be those little sew and flip corners. I'll just chime in here and say, please forgive me for the state of my nails. They were in desperate need of a painting, and for some reason I decided to film this one, and I made this one first at like midnight one night. So this is where I'm going to bring in our square in a square template, but we're not cutting all 4 of those corners off. We're just going to remove 2 of them to do our sew and flips. Now in this one, I did forget about my directional fabric and I made this one first. So this gave me all of the lessons I needed for making the red one, which I made second. Yeah. So as you can see, we're just going to slice off 2 of those corners using the number 10 template. And now when we bring in those quarter square triangles that we cut before of the background, which was template number 13, we'll have those sew and flip blocks. So once again, the Marty Michelle templates are quite simple to use, and I still haven't been able to find out if they are going to be continuing for sale. Let's speed through me constructing this block, and I'll have another little bit of a chat to you in a moment. So as you can see, I made this as per the original, but I kept all my directional fabric in the same direction, and the OCD ADH in me just hates that it didn't all line up perfectly in those stripes. So that's what informed me when making the red ones, to put the solid squares horizontally instead of vertically. And once again, here it is in option A, using these fabrics. So what I also did was I had a look at what this block would look like on repeat, and this first one is repeating with the original version as per the book. And as you can see, if you were to use the same print and make it a 2-color quilt, it's actually a little bit full on. So here's what it looks like if you use option A, and I like that little secondary pattern that the sew and flips create around that friendship star center. But even more interestingly, here is what it would look like if you alternated the blocks, still staying in the 2-color variation. The options are endless, but I thought for this video we'd take a look at what it would look like on repeat. What another great block that we have this week, and I hope that you enjoyed me making it in those 2 different options of just switching where we put our print fabric and our background fabrics. It does, in some instances, give a completely different look to the block, and I also hope you enjoyed my showing you the blocks on repeat in a quilt. If you haven't done so already, I'd love for you to like the video, share it with a friend, click the subscribe button if you haven't already done so. When you do click the subscribe button, that's a when, not if. Make sure you tickle that little bell icon to be notified of all my future releases so you don't miss a thing. I most often post once a week, sometimes twice a week, and throughout September, it may be 3 times a week. Alrighty, I look forward to seeing you again real soon. Bye for now.